library.
You think money is about numbers. It is not. It is about the story you repeat inside your head every day. That story decides if you rise slowly, explode suddenly, or stay stuck forever. Before money touches your hands, it passes through your mind. Every choice you make with money starts as a thought. Every risk you avoid, every chance you miss, every effort you delay begins as a quiet belief you barely notice. That belief was not born with you, it was installed. By family, by school, by fear, by what you saw growing up. And today, it runs your financial life on autopilot. Some people grow up hearing that money is rare. Others hear that money is dirty. Some are taught to save at all costs. Others learn to spend to feel alive. None of these rules come from truth. They come from repetition, and repetition feels like reality. Think about your first memory of money. Was it calm or stressful? Was it a reward or a problem? Was it linked to freedom or to conflict? That memory still shapes your financial reflexes today. You may be ambitious, you may work hard, but if your inner story still says money equals danger, guilt, or loss, you will sabotage yourself at the exact moment success arrives. I have seen this pattern hundreds of times. Talented people who suddenly slow down when things start working. Entrepreneurs who raise their prices, then panic and lower them again. Investors who quit right before the big return. Not because they lack skill, because their nervous system is not trained for abundance. Your brain is built for survival, not wealth. Survival means safety, routine, control. Wealth requires uncertainty, patience, and delayed reward. The brain prefers a small known result over a large uncertain one. That is why most people stay stuck in small financial loops. Same income, same habits, same stress, year after year. Let me tell you a simple story. A young man starts a side business. At first, he earns nothing. Then he earns a little. He feels excited. Then, one month, he triples his income. Instead of feeling proud, he feels tense. Sleep becomes light. Decisions become rushed. He stops trusting the process. He increases his workload too fast. He burns himself. Revenue drops, and his brain whispers, "See, this is why you do not grow too fast. Better stay small." This man did not fail financially. He failed psychologically. Wealth grows at the speed of your emotional stability, not your talent, not your intelligence. Your ability to stay calm when things expand decides how far you go. Ask yourself this honestly. How do you feel when you imagine earning 10 times more than today? Calm, excited, or secretly uncomfortable? That reaction tells you exactly where your invisible ceiling is. Money does not change who you are. It reveals you. If you are anxious without money, you will be anxious with more money. If you are disorganized with little, you will be chaotic with more. This is why sudden wealth destroys many people. Their inner structure is weaker than the pressure of abundance. The first real work is not making more. It is becoming stable enough to hold more without breaking. Most people chase strategies. Few train their identity. Yet identity always wins. You will never outperform the level of person you believe you are. If deep down you see yourself as average, money will always return to average. If you see yourself as capable, composed, and long-term oriented, money will rise to meet that standard. Here's a powerful shift. Stop asking, "How do I make more money?" Start asking, "Who must I become so that money becomes a byproduct?" This question changes everything. It moves the focus from chasing to building, from shortcuts to structure. Wealthy people do not think in days. They think in decades. Poor thinking is short, loud, emotional. Rich thinking is slow, quiet, strategic. When a wealthy mind earns, it does not rush to prove. It consolidates. When a wealthy mind loses, it does not panic. It observes. When a wealthy mind waits, it does not feel late. It feels early. You do not need motivation. You need alignment. Motivation is noisy and unstable. Alignment is calm and permanent. Let us talk about spending. Poor psychology spends to change emotions. Rich psychology spends to change systems. One buys to feel better today. The other invests to feel free tomorrow. One fills a void. The other builds a bridge. Every purchase tells a story about your identity. When you buy, ask yourself this simple question. Is this feeding my future or distracting me from it? One question can save you years. Now let us talk about income. Many people limit their income without knowing it. They choose comfort over capacity. They choose familiar over possible. They refuse paid discomfort but accept unpaid suffering. They avoid the stress of learning but accept the stress of staying broke. This is not logic. This is conditioning. Comfort is expensive. Growth is uncomfortable but pays forever. Observe how you react to pressure. When things become hard, do you shrink or sharpen? When responsibility increases, do you step back or step forward? Money always flows toward the person who can hold more weight without collapsing. Let me share a quiet truth. Wealth is built in silence. The loud phase comes later. The internet shows you the reward. It hides the invisible discipline before the reward. Long mornings alone, boring repetition, doubt without applause, progress without witnesses. If you chase applause, you will rush. If you chase mastery, you will compound. Relationships follow the same rules. Many people fear outgrowing their environment. They hold themselves back to stay accepted. They keep the same income to keep the same friends. They keep the same dreams to avoid conflict. This is one of the most invisible barriers to wealth. Loyalty to the past can become betrayal of your future. Growth always creates distance first. Harmony comes later. Are you strong enough to be misunderstood for a while? Money also amplifies power dynamics. When you earn more, people change. Some admire, some envy. Some withdraw, some lean. If your self-worth depends on external reactions, you will unconsciously limit your success to stay emotionally safe. A stable identity is protection against emotional pressure. Here is another principle. You do not become rich by being extreme. You become rich by being consistent. The brain loves extremes because they feel heroic. 10 hours of work one day, 0 the next. Massive effort, massive crash. Wealth loves rhythm. Small actions, boring actions, repeated without drama. Your nervous system must learn to tolerate steady progress without needing emotional spikes. This is rare. This is powerful. Let us bring this into something very concrete. Imagine two people with the same salary. One upgrades lifestyle at every increase. The other keeps the same life and invests the gap. After 10 years, they will not live on the same planet. Same start, opposite psychology. Money rewards delayed pleasure. This delay feels painful at first. Later, it feels like peace. Now ask yourself this. Do you want to look rich now or be rich later? One choice feeds ego, the other feeds freedom. Your inner dialogue decides this daily, no one else. Here is a final story for this chapter. A woman builds a successful business. Revenue grows fast, opportunities explode. But her childhood taught her that stability is safety. So every expansion triggers fear. She keeps cutting her own growth. She hires too late. She invests too little. She waits too long. Her business stays under its true potential for years. One belief stolen in childhood limited millions in adulthood.
When she finally works on her identity, not her strategy, growth accelerates without stress. Not because the market changed, because she did. Money flows where the mind allows it to flow. And now a question for you. What belief about money have you never dared to question? That one belief may be the gate you have been afraid to open. This chapter is not about money yet. It is about installing a new internal standard. A standard where growth feels normal, where delay feels strategic, where calm replaces chase. In the next chapters, we will go deeper into behavior, risk, patience, power, and the mechanics of real wealth. But none of it works without this foundation. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Tonight, when everything is quiet, listen to how you speak to yourself about money. That voice is not truth. It is training. And training can be changed. This is where the real journey begins. Subscribe The Millionaire Library, and if you want to go deeper, I left a full playlist waiting for you in the description.
Chapter 2. The Brain That Fears Wealth. Your brain has one mission: keep you alive. Not rich, not fulfilled, alive. This single priority explains most of your financial behavior. Every time money pushes you toward uncertainty, your nervous system reacts as if you were facing danger. Heart rate shifts, muscles tighten, focus narrows, logic weakens. You think you are making rational money decisions. In reality, your biology is deciding for you. Fear is not only emotional, it is physical. That is why willpower alone never works for long. You cannot overpower a survival system with motivation. You must retrain it. When you consider a bold move, a new investment, a business launch, a career shift, notice what happens in your body. Pressure in the chest, tight jaw, shallow breathing. That is not lack of courage. That is your ancient brain calling retreat. In the wild, retreat meant survival. In modern life, retreat often means stagnation. Most people confuse safety with comfort. Safety is having skills, cognition, and adaptability. Comfort is repeating the same day with different dates. Comfort feels safe. It is not. The brain loves familiar pain over unfamiliar gain. A predictable struggle feels safer than an uncertain upgrade. That is why people stay in jobs they hate, debts they regret, and lives they outgrew. The pain is known. The next level is unknown. The unknown triggers fear, so they stay. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Your excuses feel logical only because fear is speaking through logic. Fear is clever. It never says, "I am afraid." It says, "Wait." It says, "Later." It says, "Be realistic." It says, "Timing is not right." It sounds intelligent. It is just protection. Rich psychology is not absence of fear. It is the ability to move while fear is present. Think of the first time you did something that truly matured you. A move, a breakup, a project, a responsibility. You were not ready. You felt shaky. You survived. You adapted. You grew. That is how the nervous system learns wealth. Exposure, repetition, recovery. You do not build confidence by thinking. You build it by proving to your body that growth does not kill you. Here is a subtle trap. Many people wait to feel confident before acting. But confidence comes after action, not before. This delay keeps people frozen for years. The wealthy mind moves with incomplete certainty. The poor mind waits for complete safety that never comes. Let us talk about risk. Most people misunderstand it. They see risk as danger.
Wealthy people see risk as exposure to upside with controlled downside. The difference is not courage, it is clarity. There is blind risk and calculated risk. Blind risk is emotional. Calculated risk is structured. One is a gamble, the other is a decision. A gambler thinks in wins and losses. An investor thinks in probability and time. Time is the most ignored factor in wealth. Fear thinks in minutes. Wealth thinks in years. Ask yourself this: do you make decisions to feel safe this week or powerful in 5 years? This is where discipline begins. Not in effort, in time preference. Low time preference means you value the future highly. High time preference means you consume now and hope later. Every rich system is built on low time preference. Saving, investing, learning, training, health, relationships. All of it compounds only if you respect time. Your brain hates waiting for rewards. It wants dopamine now. That is why scrolling beats studying, spending beats investing, comfort beats mastery. Your job is not to kill desire. It is to redesign the reward system. Celebrate effort, not outcome. Praise consistency, not luck. Track habits, not headlines. If your brain only receives reward when money arrives, you will quit long before the arrival. If your brain is rewarded for showing up, money becomes inevitable.
Let me give you a micro story. Two friends start learning the same skill. One studies only when inspired. The other trains daily at the same hour. No emotion. 1 year later, one wonders why nothing changed. The other has options. Same talent, different nervous systems. Another trap is comparison. The brain compares without context. You see someone winning faster and assume you are failing, but you do not see their timeline, their risks, their sacrifices, their unseen support. Comparison creates discouraged urgency. Urgency breaks strategy. Speed feels powerful. Direction is more important. When you rush, you cut corners. When you cut corners, you build weak structures. When pressure rises, weak structures collapse. Then people say, success is dangerous. It is not. Weak preparation is. There is also the fear of responsibility. Money increases responsibility. Choices get heavier. Impact grows. Mistakes cost more. Some people unconsciously stay small to avoid this weight. They prefer light stress to heavy purpose. But responsibility is the price of freedom. Without it, you remain dependent on employers, on systems, on moods, on approval. A wealthy nervous system does not seek ease. It seeks control of its own life. Think about decision fatigue. People with scattered minds sabotage their finances. Too many options, too little structure. The wealthy simplify. Fewer choices, clear rules, automatic actions. They automate discipline, not motivation. For example, a simple rule like invest first, spend later removes daily emotional conflict. It protects you from your own impulses. Most people negotiate with themselves every day. They lose most of those negotiations. Let us touch relationships again. Fear-based brains seek approval. Approval-based living is expensive. You spend to be seen, you please to be accepted, you delay growth to stay included. This costs more than luxury ever will. Rejection is cheaper than regret. Here is another quiet truth. Many people fear money because they fear isolation. They think wealth separates. In reality, immaturity separates. Emotional strength connects. If your success makes others uncomfortable,
That discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to grow without becoming arrogant or ashamed. Now take this internal audit. When you imagine a wealthy version of yourself, what scares you most? The pressure? The visibility? The expectations? The loneliness? The change? That fear is the exact training you need. You do not become strong by avoiding pressure. You become strong by learning to stay soft inside pressure. Breathing slow, thinking clear, acting calm. This is richness in motion. Your nervous system can be trained like a muscle. Cold exposure, physical training, public speaking, financial decisions. All of them teach your body that stress does not equal destruction. It equals adaptation. Wealth is an adaptation game. Let us make this practical. Choose one small financial action this week that creates mild discomfort but long-term benefit. A call, a negotiation, an investment in skill, a budget reset. Not extreme, just slightly outside comfort. Then observe your body, the resistance, the stories, the tension. Do it anyway, calmly, without drama. Afterwards, notice the quiet confidence that arrives. That is how your nervous system upgrades. Repeat this and your financial ceiling will rise silently. You are not meant to feel fearless. You are meant to feel capable with fear present. Let me end this chapter with this. Poverty is loud. It screams urgency. Wealth is quiet. It whispers patience. If you master your nervous system, money becomes a technical outcome, not an emotional battlefield. You are not behind. You are simply training at the level of your current identity. The moment your nervous system accepts growth as normal, everything accelerates without strain. In the next chapter, we will break one of the most dangerous illusions in money, the illusion of control. And I promise you this, what feels uncertain today will feel obvious in hindsight.
Chapitre 3. The illusion of control. The human mind craves control. It wants clear causes, clean effects, simple explanations. Money does not work like that. Wealth is built inside complex systems. Markets move with emotion, cycles, timing, crowd psychology, and randomness. Yet your brain wants to believe that every result was planned. This belief is comforting. It is also dangerous. Most people overestimate their control during good times and underestimate uncertainty during calm periods. When money flows, they feel smart. When money disappears, they feel unlucky. In both cases, they misunderstand the game. Control is seductive because it helps the ego relax. It gives you the feeling that you dominate the outcome. In reality, you dominate only your behavior, not the environment, not the timing, not the reactions of others. Wealth is not the art of controlling life. It is the art of positioning yourself so that life has more chances to reward you. Let me give you a simple example. Two investors buy the same asset. One does it with patience, reserves, and long-term vision. The other does it with debt, stress, and urgency. Same market, same price, opposite psychology. One survives storms, the other breaks at the first wave. The difference is not intelligence, it is margin of safety. Poor thinking bets everything on being right. Rich thinking survives being wrong. The need to be right destroys more wealth than lack of skill ever will.
When people link their identity to their decisions, they cannot adapt. They defend bad positions to protect their ego. They double down on mistakes to avoid admitting error. Markets do not care about your pride. The wealthy detach their identity from outcomes. They observe, adjust, re-enter. No drama. Let us talk about prediction. Humans love prediction. It makes them feel superior to uncertainty. Forecasts, gurus, signals. Most of it is noise, dressed as knowledge. The future does not reward the most confident predictor. It rewards the most adaptable actor. Think about your life. How many things went exactly as planned? Very few. Yet many of your biggest opportunities likely came from unexpected paths. A meeting you did not plan, a problem you did not choose, a delay that changed your direction. Control tries to force reality. Wisdom learns to dance with it. Here is a micro-story. A man saves for years to invest in a perfect project. The timing looks ideal. The market collapses. He freezes. Another man starts earlier with imperfect knowledge and small size. He adapts through the chaos. After 10 years, the second man owns experience. The first owns regret. Waiting for perfect control often means missing real compounding. The illusion of control also appears in daily spending. People say they manage their budget, yet one emotional day can erase months of discipline. Because the real driver was never logic, it was emotion. You either design your financial life for emotional storms, or storms will redesign it for you. This is why automation is power. Automatic saving, automatic investing, automatic rules. They remove control from your emotional mind and give it to structure. The wealthy do not trust their discipline. They trust their systems. Freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the presence of strong, invisible structure. Let us touch entrepreneurship. Many want freedom. Few want the uncertainty that comes with it. They dream of control but fear instability. Yet instability is the price of flexibility. Control is traded, not gained. A salary gives predictable income and limited upside. A business gives uncertain income and uncapped upside. Neither is superior in itself. What matters is alignment with your nervous system and long-term goal. Suffering in the wrong game is pointless. Stress in the right game is training. The illusion of control also shows up in relationships with money. Some people try to control every dollar tightly. They track, restrict, optimize, and squeeze. At first, it looks responsible. Over time, it often becomes anxiety disguised as discipline. Their wealth grows, but their peace shrinks. Others avoid control completely and call it freedom. This leads to chaos. Bills surprise them. Debts grow silently. They feel victimized by randomness they helped create. The balanced path is selective control. You control what matters. You let go of what does not. You control your savings rate. You do not control the market return. You control your skill growth. You do not control industry cycles. You control your habits. You do not control timing. This distinction changes everything. Now let us face a deeper layer. Control is often a response to past trauma. Growing up in instability trains the mind to cling hard later. Growing up with neglect trains some to seek control through money. Growing up with unpredictability can create adults who obsess over certainty. Money becomes the emotional substitute for safety they never had. If this resonates, do not judge yourself. Awareness is already power. The goal is not to abandon control. It is to soften it where it becomes rigid. Wealth does not need rigidity. It needs resilience. Think about storms again. The rigid tree breaks. The flexible one bends and returns. Now a question for you. In your financial life, where are you rigid? Where do you refuse uncertainty? That is where your growth is trapped. Another danger of perceived control is stagnation disguised as stability. People stick to what they know because it feels controllable. They reject opportunities that feel wild, new, or undefined. Later, they say the world changed too fast. The truth is, the world always changes. They just stopped. Uncertainty is not new. It is life's default setting. Stability is temporary. Even cash is not stable. Inflation proves that control over money is an illusion at scale. So what is real control? It is internal. It is being able to stay calm when plans shift. It is making decisions from clarity instead of panic. It is acting without needing perfect forecasts. The moment you stop searching for certainty, you become free to move. This is why wealthy psychology treats money as a long game of probabilities, not certainties. A single year means nothing. A decade means everything. Short-term thinking magnifies randomness. Long-term thinking absorbs it. Let me simplify this. If you need certainty before acting, you will act too late. If you can't act with partial information and calm intent, timing becomes your ally. This also applies to relationships, career, and personal growth. There is no perfect moment. There is only alignment and action. The illusion of control tells you that hesitation is intelligence. Often, hesitation is fear dressed as wisdom. Let us talk about loss. People fear losing because it shatters the feeling of control. A loss feels like proof that you were wrong. But loss is not an insult. It is feedback. Wealthy minds treat loss as tuition. Poor minds treat it as a verdict on their worth. If you extract the lesson, the loss was cheap. If you extract shame, the loss becomes expensive. Now, imagine this. You invest in yourself consistently for 5 years. Skills, network, health, thinking. Even if money structures fail, you carry the engine with you. This is the deepest form of control, portable power. External control can vanish. Internal capacity compounds. Here is a powerful shift. Stop asking, how do I avoid uncertainty? Start asking, how do I increase my ability to move inside uncertainty? That question builds strength instead of cages. Let me leave you with one more quiet truth. You will never feel fully in control on the path to real wealth. If you do, you are not playing at the right level. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the feedback signal of expansion. If you crave control, stay small and predictable. If you want freedom, make peace with uncertainty. Control keeps you safe. Adaptability makes you rich. Chapter 4. Time is the only real currency. You can lose money and recover it. You can lose status and rebuild it. But when you lose time, it is gone forever. Still, most people treat time like it is infinite and treat money like it is rare. Wealthy psychology does the opposite. It protects time first. Money follows. The tragedy is simple. Many people spend their best years chasing quick wins. Then they spend their later years repairing the damage of impatience. Fast money often creates slow consequences. Slow money creates fast peace. Time is not just duration, it is leverage. When time works with you, small actions become unstoppable. When time works against you, even big efforts feel weak. Compounding is not a financial trick. It is a law of reality. Anything repeated with enough time becomes dominant. Skills, habits, debt, confidence, fear, health, discipline, laziness, all of it compounds. The question is never if compounding is happening. The question is what is compounding in your life right now. Most people overestimate what they can change in 1 year and underestimate what they can change in 10. This creates frustration early and regret later. The first years feel slow. The later years feel shocking, but only for those who stayed consistent. Let me tell you a true pattern. The first 3 years of serious effort often feel unfair. You work, you sacrifice, results seem small. Then suddenly, the 4th year changes everything. People think you got lucky. You know you stayed. Time rewards the invisible. The work nobody claps for. The discipline nobody notices. The focus nobody celebrates. Impatience is expensive because it breaks compounding. People start, stop, switch, reset. Each reset destroys momentum. Each switch pays a new learning tax. Each distraction steals future interest. Wealth loves continuity. Think of it like this. Every focused year stacks on the previous one. Every distracted year cancels part of the stack. Many people live in permanent financial restart. Now let us talk about delayed gratification. This skill is the dividing line between those who build quiet wealth and those who stay in loud struggle. The ability to feel desire and not obey it instantly is power, not repression, mastery. When you delay a purchase, you are not losing pleasure, you are relocating it to a higher level later. When you delay comfort, you buy freedom. When you delay applause, you buy authority. Poor psychology says, I deserve this now. Rich psychology asks, what will I deserve later if I wait? Waiting is not passive, it is strategic. Let me give you a simple contrast. One person spends every bonus, the other invests every bonus. After 10 years, one has memories, the other has options. Memories fade, options multiply. Options are freedom in physical form. Time also exposes emotional mistakes. Quick money often amplifies weak identity. Slow money forces maturity. That is why many rapid successes collapse. Speed makes flaws louder. Time makes structure stronger. If you feel late, let me reframe it. You're only late if you waste the season you're in. There is a season to learn, a season to build, a season to scale. Mixing them creates frustration. Trying to scale before you are built is like adding pressure to a hollow structure. It looks impressive for a moment, then it implodes. Another illusion is urgency. The internet sells urgency as wisdom. Act now, move fast, do not miss out. But urgency often hides poor strategy. The market will still be here tomorrow. Trends will change. Skills will travel with you. You do not need to win every opportunity. You only need to win a few that compound. Now let us address age. Many people feel late because they compare timelines. Someone is rich at 25, another at 50. Comparison without context poisons perspective. The real question is not how old are you, it is how focused are you. Time rewards focus, not youth. Youth with distraction is slow. Age with clarity is fast. I have seen 40-year-olds build in 5 years what others failed to build in 20. Not because of speed, because of precision. Precision saves time. Confusion burns it. Here is something most people miss. Time also compounds identity. Whatever you practice being, you become faster at being it. If you practice avoidance, you become efficient at avoiding. If you practice discipline, you become natural at discipline. Your default mode becomes your future. You are not chasing money daily. You are training the type of person who will earn it automatically later. There is also the cost of hesitation. Hesitation feels safe. It is not. It is a silent tax. Every year you delay starting something that matters, you lose a full year of compounding. That year never comes back. People regret not trying more than they regret failing. Ask yourself this: what decision have you postponed for more than a year? That delay already cost you more than most mistakes would have. Now let us bring time into relationships again. Many sacrifice long-term partnerships for short-term thrills. Many sacrifice health for short-term productivity. Many sacrifice reputation for short-term wins. These trades look profitable today. They bankrupt you later. Wealthy thinking always asks about second-order effects, not just what happens next, but what happens after what happens next. Short-term pleasure often carries long-term cost. Short-term pain often carries long-term freedom. Time also teaches humility. You can be right today and wrong over time. You can be wrong today and right over time. That is why emotional reactions to short-term results destroy long-term wealth. Panic selling, over-trading, quitting too early. All time mistakes. The market does not reward intensity. It rewards endurance. Here is a quiet discipline of wealthy people. They stay in the game. They reduce catastrophic risk. They accept slow periods. They wait through boredom. Most people exit during boredom, not failure. Boredom is the graveyard of potential. Let me share another micro story. A young woman invests small amounts every month. No drama, no headlines, no excitement. 15 years later, she has quiet wealth and zero stress. Her friend chased fast schemes, big wins, big losses, endless emotion. Same timeline, opposite nervous systems, opposite outcomes. Time rewards calm. Now a practical shift. Track your life in decades, not months. Ask what you want your next 10 years to produce: skills, assets, identity, health, relationships. Then reverse engineer the next 12 months. Suddenly, daily discipline feels meaningful instead of heavy. When time has meaning, effort becomes light. Also understand this: you do not need to do everything fast. You need to avoid doing the wrong things for too long. One bad habit repeated for a decade costs more than 10 small mistakes corrected early. Slow mistakes are dangerous. Fast mistakes are educational. Now ask yourself honestly, what has been slowly leaking your time? Scrolling, distraction, toxic dynamics, comfort loops. These leaks seem small daily. Over years, they destroy fortunes silently. Protecting time is not about being busy. It's about being selective. Say no more often. Choose fewer battles. Build deeper. Rush less. Finally, understand this: money is late feedback. Time is early feedback. If you waste time today, you will feel it in money years later. If you invest time today, money will follow quietly later. This delay fools people. They think time actions don't matter because money hasn't moved yet. Then suddenly it moves all at once, up or down. Time is always collecting interest. You just don't see the statement daily. Ask yourself one final question for this chapter. If your next 5 years repeated your last 5, would you be free or trapped? The answer is painful and powerful.
Chapter 5. Turning Pain into Power. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Yet most people mix the two and spend their lives trying to escape both. They avoid discomfort, mistakes, rejection, pressure. They build their life around not feeling bad. And in doing so, they quietly build a life that never grows. Here is the shift that changes everything. Pain is information, not punishment. It tells you where you are weak, where you are attached, where you are afraid, where you are untrained. Emotional pain highlights identity gaps. Financial pain highlights skill gaps. Physical pain highlights health gaps. All three are feedback systems, not enemies. Rich psychology does not romanticize pain. It uses it. Most people respond to pain with distraction. They scroll, they spend, they escape, they numb. This turns short-term pain into long-term limitation. Wealthy minds respond to pain with investigation. They ask, why did this hurt? What did this expose? What must change? One path creates maturity. The other creates repetition. Let me tell you a simple truth. You cannot out-earn emotional avoidance. You will always pay somewhere, either in growth now or in regret later. Think about your last major setback: loss of money, rejection, failure, betrayal, burnout. Did it break you for a while? Good. That means it mattered. But did it upgrade you? That is the only important question. The same pain can make one person bitter and another sharper. The difference is not the pain, it is the interpretation. The bitter mind asks, why is this happening to me? The wealthy mind asks, what is this training me for? One stays heavy, the other becomes dangerous in silence. Let us talk about shame. Shame is one of the heaviest emotional payments in money psychology. People feel shame around death, around past mistakes, around missed chances, around coming from nothing. Shame turns mistakes into identity, and identity shapes future behavior. A person who sees himself as someone who always fails will unconsciously recreate failure to stay consistent with his self-image. This is psychology, not logic. Break this by separating behavior from identity. You did something wrong. You are not wrong as a person. You lost money. You are not a loser. You made a bad call. You are not a bad decision maker for life. Mistakes are events, not definitions. Wealth requires emotional elasticity. The faster you recover from emotional blows, the faster you grow financially. Many people slow their entire life because they are bruised inside from old losses they never processed. They move forward with a subconscious handbrake on. They call it being careful. It is being wounded. Healing is not soft work. It is strategic work. Now let us talk about rejection. Rejection hurts because it attacks identity. It says you are not chosen, not valued, not wanted. The brain interprets this as social threat. In ancient times, rejection meant death. That wiring still lives in you. When you avoid rejection, you avoid practice. When you avoid practice, you avoid mastery. Sales, negotiation, content, leadership, relationships all require repeated rejection at first, until your nervous system learns that rejection is not fatal, only feedback. Wealthy people are not immune to rejection. They are trained for it. Another form of pain is boredom. Boredom is the pain of repetition without visible reward.
This is where most people quit. They can handle excitement. They cannot handle dull consistency. Yet dull consistency is where fortunes are built. If you only work when you feel inspired, you will live on emotional income. It always fluctuates. If you work when it is boring, you build structural wealth. Discipline is not heroic. It is quiet, and that makes it emotionally hard. Let us talk about pressure. Pressure reveals what training hides. Under pressure, your true habits appear. Your real communication style, your emotional reactions, your leadership level, your money decisions. Pressure is not created by wealth. Wealth reveals how you handle pressure. Some people crack under small pressure because they avoided it for years. Others stayed calm under massive pressure because they trained it gradually. Pressure tolerance can be built the same way strength is built. Progressive load. You do not jump under a heavy bar on day one. You add weight slowly. In money, pressure comes as larger decisions, larger risks, larger responsibility. If you fight pressure instead of training for it, your growth will always stop at the same level. Now let us talk about envy. Envy is painful because it shows you what you want but fear pursuing. Instead of using it as direction, most people turn it into bitterness. They attack what they secretly desire. Envy can become fuel if you use it correctly. It points to a future you haven't built yet. That future is uncomfortable to look at, so the mind rejects it. The wealthy ask, not why them, but how me. Pain also appears as loneliness. Growth isolates it first. The person you become does not fit immediately into the environment you came from. This creates emotional friction. Many choose to slow their growth to reduce that friction. That choice feels loyal. It is often self-abandonment. You are not meant to shrink to stay connected. You are meant to grow and attract new alignment. Now let us talk about financial pain specifically. Losing money hurts because it touches security. But money lost can be replaced. Nervous system strength lost takes much longer to rebuild. If a loss makes you afraid to act again, the loss will multiply over time. The wealthy feel the pain of loss. Then they return to neutral faster. Not because they are cold, but because they have a longer view. Short-term pain inside long-term strategy becomes bearable. Pain without meaning becomes suffering. Give your pain meaning, and it becomes training. Now, here is a powerful principle. Never waste pain. If you pay for a lesson with discomfort, extract the lesson fully. Write it, name it, apply it. That way the pain pays you back. Unprocessed pain becomes a recurring tax. Let's make this practical. Think of one painful memory related to money. A loss, a humiliation, a failure. Instead of avoiding it, look at it directly. Ask 3 questions. What behavior led to this? What beliefs supported that behavior? What new rule will I adopt now? Do this once. The emotional weight often drops immediately because the brain finally understands the utility of the pain. Pain without clarity is torture. Pain with clarity is leverage. Now, a deeper layer. Some people feel uncomfortable with success. They feel guilt for rising while others struggle. This guilt becomes self-sabotage. They earn, then destroy. Rise, then fall. Not because of lack of discipline, but because of unresolved emotional loyalty. You are not responsible for other people's life choices. You are responsible for not betraying your own potential. Success does not harm others. Immaturity does. If wealth makes you feel heavy instead of quiet, something inside needs integration. Finally, understand this. You cannot choose a life without pain. You can only choose the type of pain. The pain of discipline now, or the pain of regret later. The pain of exposure now, or the pain of stagnation later. The wealthy choose their pain consciously. Here is a question for you. What pain are you avoiding right now that would free you later if you faced it? A conversation? A decision? A responsibility? A risk? Your answer is likely the exact door you must walk through. Let me end this chapter with this. Comfort feels kind, but comfort keeps you small. Pain feels cruel, but pain used correctly makes you precise. You were not designed to be comfortable. You were designed to grow.
Chapter 6. The identity that sets your financial ceiling. Before money becomes a number, it becomes a self-image. You do not rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your identity. If deep down you see yourself as ordinary, you will unconsciously create ordinary results. If you see yourself as capable, calm, and long-term oriented, your life will quietly organize itself around that standard. Identity is not what you say you are. It is what your daily behavior proves you believe. You can repeat affirmations about wealth all day. If you hesitate at every opportunity, your true identity is caution. You can talk about freedom. If you trade your best hours for distractions, your identity is comfort. Money listens to behavior, not words. Most people think they lack discipline. In reality, they are loyal to an identity that does not include discipline. Here is how identity is built. Small promises kept to yourself, or broken. Each time you act in alignment with a higher standard, your identity shifts slightly upward. Each time you betray your own standards, it shifts downward. Over time, these small shifts harden into who you think you are. You are not stuck because you lack information. You are stuck because your current identity is running your life on autopilot. Let me give you a simple example. Two people both want to be wealthy. One sees himself as a disciplined builder. The other sees himself as a creative dreamer. When the market becomes slow and boring, the builder doubles down. The dreamer gets bored and pivots. Same desire, different identities, opposite outcomes. Here is the danger. Identity feels permanent. It is not. It is a habit you have practiced for years. If you practiced avoidance, you became an avoider. If you practiced consistency, you became consistent. If you practiced self-doubt, you became unsure. None of this is destiny. It is rehearsal. Wealth is not built by changing what you want. It is built by changing who you practice being. Now let us talk about deservedness. This word controls more financial outcomes than talent ever will. Some people feel they deserve success. Others feel they must earn it through suffering. Others feel they are not meant for it at all. Deservedness is not logical. It is emotional. It comes from childhood, culture, trauma, praise, neglect, and comparison. If you feel unworthy of wealth, you will create complex paths to sabotage it. You will do well, then create chaos. You will rise, then pick a fight. You will earn, then overspend. You will be close, then hesitate. Not because you are stupid, because you are loyal to an internal limit. This is why some people cannot keep money even when they know how to make it. The earning skill and the holding identity are different muscles. Ask yourself this honestly. Do you feel safe imagining yourself stable, wealthy, and calm for decades? Or does part of you feel uneasy, guilty, or exposed?
That reaction is your real financial ceiling. Now, the hard truth. Many people secretly fear that if they change too much, they will lose their place in their family, their friends, or their past. So they keep their identity small to keep their belonging. Belonging is a primal need. If growth feels like a threat to belonging, the nervous system will choose belonging every time, even if it costs freedom. This creates invisible self-sabotage. You cancel opportunities. You choose lower potential paths. You delay bold decisions. You call it being realistic. It is being loyal to an old tribe. But here is the rule of life. Every next level demands a new identity. That identity will not be recognized immediately by the people who knew you before. That gap feels lonely. It is temporary. If you survive the transition without shrinking, alignment returns at a higher level. You do not need everyone to come with you. You only need to keep going. Identity is also shaped by the words you use. When you say, "I am bad with money," you are not describing a skill. You are declaring an identity. The brain hears identity as a command. Then it looks for evidence to prove you right. Change the language, and you start changing the script. Instead of "I am bad with money," say, "I am learning to manage money." This keeps identity open. Fixed identity traps behavior. Flexible identity trains growth. Now let us talk about the paradox of confidence. True confidence is quiet. It is not performance. It is internal permission to try without needing to look perfect. Many people confuse confidence with arrogance. They reject confidence because they fear becoming arrogant. So they stay small to stay moral. This is a false trade. You can be humble and powerful. In fact, real power often creates humility because it reveals complexity. Identity built on growth says, "I am a work in progress with strong direction." Identity built on fear says, "I must already be perfect before I act." Progress only listens to the first. Another trap is the victim identity. Life is unfair. Systems are rigged. The economy is broken. All of this can be true. And still, the victim identity will keep you poor forever because it removes ownership. And without ownership, there is no leverage. Ownership does not mean blame. It means control of your response. You may not control the starting cards. You always control how you play the hand. Now let us speak about repetition. Identity is reinforced by what you do when no one is watching, not by occasional heroic efforts. The most powerful shifts come from boring personal rituals. Same time, same place, same action, day after day. A person who trains his mind, body, and skills in private builds an identity that feels solid in public. A person who performs only when seen builds an identity that collapses under pressure. Wealth loves private discipline. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Most people do not fail because life is hard. They fail because they refuse to let go of who they used to be. The old identity protected you once. It got you through something. But what saved you then may now be limiting you. Gratitude for the past does not require loyalty to its limits. Now let us talk about self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation of a powerful identity. If you do not trust yourself to keep your word, take risks, hold pressure, or delay pleasure, you will unconsciously seek control from outside: bosses, systems, partners, quick money. Self-trust removes the need for external rescue. How do you build self-trust? Through small promises kept consistently. Not massive goals, not dramatic vows. Simple actions done daily without negotiation. Wake up when you said you would. Train when you said you would. Study when you said you would. Save what you said you would. Each kept promise forges quiet confidence. This confidence cannot be shaken by markets or opinions. Now think about identity and money together. A person who sees himself as a builder thinks in assets. A person who sees himself as a spender thinks in rewards. A person who sees himself as a learner thinks in skill. A person who sees himself as a victim thinks in excuses. Your identity chooses your lens. Your lens chooses your behavior. Your behavior chooses your future. It always flows this way. Now, a powerful exercise. Write down 3 sentences that begin with "I am." Not what you wish to be, what your behavior proves today. Honest sentences. Then ask yourself if these identities deserve the future you say you want. If not, you know exactly what must change. Identity does not change through willpower. It changes through evidence. You give your brain proof of a new self and it updates automatically. One proof at a time. Now let us address fear of visibility. Many people are afraid to be seen evolving, not failing, evolving. Growth invites attention. Attention invites judgment. Judgment threatens belonging. So they keep their identity low to stay invisible. But invisibility has a cost. You trade exposure for opportunity. You trade voice for safety. You trade influence for approval. Wealth requires a certain level of visibility. Not noise, responsibility, standing for something, being counted. You do not need to be loud, you need to be real. Another identity trap is the fantasy self, the version of you who will start once conditions are perfect. More time, more money, more clarity. This identity feels productive because it plans a lot, but it delays embodiment indefinitely. The future version is always confident. The present version must act without that confidence. There is no transformation without embarrassment. Only amateurs grow without discomfort. Now, a final truth about identity. You cannot hate who you are and become who you want to be. Contempt does not create evolution. Direction does. You change not because you are broken. You change because you see a more accurate version of yourself waiting ahead. You are not here to destroy your old self. You are here to upgrade it. Let me end this chapter with this. Money will never rise above the level of self-respect you quietly practice. If you value your time, your words, your effort, and your standards, money will align with that valuation. If you abuse your own time, break your own promises, and shrink your own aspirations, money will follow that model too. Your identity is the silent architect of your financial life.
Chapter 7. The Dangerous Power of Patience. Patience is misunderstood. Most people think it means waiting without moving. That is not patience. That is hesitation. Real patience is active. It works every day without demanding applause. It builds pressure quietly. Then it releases it all at once. Impatience wants proof now. Patience builds proof over time. We live in a culture that rewards speed, noise, and visible wins.
But wealth lives in what grows when nobody is watching. That is why patience feels uncomfortable. There is no immediate validation, no crowd, no trophy at the start, only repetition. The ego hates patience. It wants confirmation that it is special. The investor mindset chooses patience because it wants leverage. Here is the brutal truth. Most people abandon the game right before compounding starts. They endure the hardest phase, then leave when it is about to turn. Not because they're incapable, because they're emotionally exhausted. The early phase of any meaningful growth is the most psychologically expensive. Effort is high, results are small. Doubt is loud. This phase filters nearly everyone. Only those who stay long enough reach the phase where effort feels lighter and results explode. What breaks most people is not failure. It is slow success. Slow success is hard to emotionally tolerate because it gives no clear signal of arrival. You are always in between, not failing, not winning yet, just working. This is where patience becomes dangerous, because patience under pressure builds an unshakable advantage. Think about any domain: business, fitness, skills, investing, content, relationships. The ones who dominate are not the most intense, they are the most persistent. Intensity burns fast. Persistence compounds endlessly. Let us talk about delayed feedback. Some actions reward you immediately: eating, entertainment, spending, praise. Other actions reward you months or years later: saving, training, learning, investing, strategic relationships. The brain prefers immediate rewards. That is biology. Wealth requires that you override this preference consciously. Delayed feedback is the furnace where patience is forged. If you can act without immediate reward, you gain access to levels most people never reach. Here is a microstory. Two people build online businesses. One checks views and money daily. Emotional swings control decisions. The other ignores metrics and focuses on improving one skill per week. One burns out in a year. The other dominates in 5. Patience removes randomness from your emotional state. That alone multiplies your performance. Another trap is urgency disguised as ambition. Many people rush because they're scared of being late. This fear makes them unstable. They switch strategies quickly. They chase trends. They abandon foundations mid-construction. Everything looks productive. Nothing compounds. Patience is boring because it requires trust in invisible progress. Trust is built when you see enough cycles to understand how long things really take. Most people quit at the first plateau. They believe growth is linear. It is not. It moves in steps. Long, flat phases, then sudden jumps. The flat phases feel like failure. They are the loading screen. If you quit during the loading screen, you never see the next level. Now let us talk about emotional patience. This is even rarer than financial patience. Emotional patience is the ability to stay composed while things are unresolved, while money is not stable yet, while identity is not clear yet, while results are not final yet. Most people seek closure quickly. They want certainty. They want labels. They want guarantees. To reach real wealth, you must tolerate open loops. Open loops are uncomfortable. They mean you are still becoming. The wealthy stay inside open loops for years if necessary. They do not rush closure. They build structure inside uncertainty. This patience makes them dangerous. Now look at patience in relationships. Many people sabotage connection because they are impatient with growth. They expect immediate alignment. immediate understanding, immediate reward. They leave at the first friction. Later, they complain about loneliness. Strong relationships compound like wealth. They go through dull phases, misalignment, tension, repair. Trust deepens only after stress. If you expect permanent ease, you will restart endlessly.
This same behavior pattern shows up in business, habits, and money. Restarting feels fresh. It is actually regression. Patience also governs pricing your work. Impatient people underprice to get fast validation. Patient people price correctly and wait for alignment. One builds fragile revenue. The other builds authority. Authority is slow by nature. Patience is also what protects you from emotional market cycles. When the crowd is euphoric, patience keeps you grounded. When the crowd is panicking, patience keeps you calm. The impatient oscillate with the herd. The patient move against it quietly. This alone creates asymmetry. Let us talk about stress tolerance. Patience increases stress tolerance without burnout. When you accept long timelines, your nervous system relaxes. You stop trying to compress years into weeks. You choose sustainable pace. Burnout is often the result of impatience combined with ambition. You want big results fast with limited emotional recovery. The body resists. The mind collapses. The project dies. Patience allows ambition to survive long enough to win. Now, a subtle point. Patience is not passivity. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are building while waiting. You are not idle. You are attacking at low noise. There is a difference between silent work and stagnant waiting. One compounds. The other decays. Ask yourself this. If nothing changes externally for the next 12 months, would your daily actions still move you forward? If yes, you are patient. If not, you are dependent on external motivation. Let us talk about pride. Pride hates slow growth. It wants to skip steps. It wants to arrive fast. It wants to jump levels without paying the cost. Patience dissolves pride. It teaches respect for process. People who skip steps always fall back later, often harder than if they had built correctly. Time always collects the unpaid bill. Another danger of impatience is that it attracts fragile money. Money built fast on weak foundations collapses easily. Money built slow on strong foundations resists shocks. Ask yourself this: do you want fast evidence or durable reality? Fast evidence fades. Durable reality compounds. Now let us talk about internal peace. Patient people sleep better because they are not constantly asking, "Where am I compared to others?" They measure progress against yesterday, not against strangers. Their nervous system is not hijacked by comparison. Comparison accelerates impatience. Patience shifts your attention from outcome to trajectory, from applause to alignment. That shift alone saves years of emotional waste. Here is a powerful frame. Most people try to predict the perfect moment to accelerate. The patient create conditions so that acceleration becomes inevitable. They build skills. They build reserves. They build networks. They build credibility. Then, when opportunity appears, they are ready. The impatient wait for opportunity first, then scramble. Preparation is patience in physical form. Now think about regret. Regret is often the cost of emotional impatience. Quick decisions made to escape discomfort.
Staying in what you know would be better. Taking a shortcut that delayed you by years. All of this comes from the same root: refusal to sit inside temporary discomfort. Patience is the willingness to stay in discomfort long enough for change to become real. One more truth. You will never feel patient at the beginning. You become patient only after you see patience work at least once in your own life. Until then, it always feels risky. That is why this chapter is dangerous, because if you choose patience now, you will not be emotionally rewarded for a long time. But once the machine turns, it rarely stops. Now, a direct question for you. Where are you secretly impatient right now? With money? With your body? With your career? With your identity? That impatience is likely costing you more than any external obstacle. Another layer. Patience also requires boundaries. You must protect your timeline from people who try to rush you for their comfort. Not everyone benefits from your slow, quiet build. Some want instant results from you. Some want entertainment. Some want proof before you are ready. You are allowed to grow without explaining your pace. Silence is often part of the strategy. Now imagine this. You commit to the next 5 years with no dramatic pivots, no craving for overnight wins, just ruthless consistency in a narrow direction. Track what would break instead of what would emerge. Burnout disappears. Confusion dissolves. Identity stabilizes. Opportunity starts chasing you. This is not fantasy. This is statistical reality. Patience does not feel powerful daily. It feels plain. That is why it works. Let me end this chapter with this. Impatient people chase results. Patient people build machines. Results are temporary. Machines print forever. And here is the final question. Are you trying to look successful soon or be successful for a very long time?
Chapter 8. Leverage. The force that multiplies everything. Hard work is honorable. It is also limited. Your time is fixed. Your energy is finite. Your attention is fragile. If your income depends only on your direct effort, your ceiling is already set. Leverage is what breaks that ceiling. Leverage is the art of getting results that are disconnected from the hours you put in today. It is delayed effort multiplied by systems. Most people stay poor not because they are lazy, but because they are trapped in linear effort. 1 hour equals 1 unit of value. No scale, no echo, no multiplication. Leverage turns 1 unit of effort into 10, 100, 1,000. There are 4 main forms of leverage in the real world: skill leverage, capital leverage, code leverage, and people leverage. You do not need all of them. You need to understand at least one deeply. Skill leverage is when your expertise compounds beyond your physical presence. A doctor trades time for money. A designer creates one asset and sells it thousands of times. Same skill level, different leverage. Capital leverage is when money itself works for you. Investing, ownership, equity, appreciation. You stop being the engine and become the owner of engines. Code leverage is when software, automation, or digital systems perform labor without fatigue. One tool replaces hundreds of hours. People leverage is when teams, audiences, or networks expand your reach. Leadership replaces solo execution. Most people touch all of these lightly. The wealthy commit to one deeply. Now here is the trap. Leverage feels unfair at first.
It rewards results without visible effort in the moment. This triggers resentment in those who still operate only through sweat. They call it luck, privilege, timing. They miss the years of invisible setup. Leverage is not a shortcut. It is delayed effort at a higher dimension. Let us make this simple. If you teach one person, your impact is one. If you create a lesson that teaches 10,000 people, your impact is 10,000. Same knowledge, different leverage. The world does not pay for effort. It pays for impact. Impact is effort multiplied by leverage. Now here is a difficult truth. Many people are uncomfortable with leverage because leverage creates asymmetry. One person earns in a day what another earns in a year. This feels morally unsettling to those who still evaluate life through effort alone. But nature itself is asymmetric. One seed creates one tree. One tree creates a forest. The tree does not apologize to the seed. Your job is not to make outcomes equal. It is to make your effort compound. Another trap is the martyr mindset. Some people take pride in exhaustion. They equate suffering with value. If it is not hard, it feels dishonest. This identity keeps them trapped in low-leverage loops forever. Pain does not prove worth. Results do. Let us talk about why people avoid leverage. The first reason is fear of responsibility. Leverage increases consequences. When your reach expands, your mistakes cost more. Your words travel farther. Your influence grows heavier. Many people unconsciously protect themselves from high responsibility by staying small. Another reason is patience. Leverage requires long setup with little immediate reward. You can work for months or years building an asset that pays nothing at first. Most people cannot tolerate this phase emotionally. They prefer fast income over slow engines. The third reason is identity. If you see yourself as a worker, you will seek tasks. If you see yourself as a builder, you will seek structures. One identity earns salaries, the other earns ownership. Now let us make leverage practical. Ask yourself this: if you stopped working for 3 months, what would still produce value? Your answer reveals your current level of leverage. If the answer is nothing, you are fully linear. That is not wrong, but it is fragile. Linear income breaks when you stop. Leveraged income pauses and resumes. Let us take content as an example. Speaking to one client pays once. Creating a lesson that reaches millions pays repeatedly. You still worked, but you built an echo. Courses, books, software, media, businesses, investments. All of these are echoes of past effort. Leverage rewards builders, not performers. Another layer. Leverage also applies to habits. When you automate decisions, you remove willpower from the equation. Automatic saving, automatic investing, automatic routines. Each automation becomes a silent employee inside your life. Most people negotiate with themselves every day. The leveraged person sets rules once and lets the system execute forever. This frees cognitive energy, and cognitive energy is the real scarce resource. Now let us speak about capital leverage honestly. Money only accelerates who you already are. If you are reckless, money makes you faster at losing. If you are disciplined, money makes you faster at compounding. This is why identity always comes before capital. Poor people think money will save them. Rich people know money only amplifies them. Capital is a tool, not a cure. Let us touch code leverage. We live in the first generation where a single person can build tools that serve millions with almost no marginal cost. This changes everything. You no longer need factories. You need distribution and systems. Yet most people use technology only for consumption, not for multiplication. They scroll tools designed for builders. They watch producers instead of becoming one. Entertainment has massive leverage. So does creation. One traps you in linear emotion. The other builds nonlinear impact. People leverage is another misunderstood concept. Working with others feels risky. Coordination, conflict, delegation, leadership. Many avoid it and stay solo forever. This limits their scale dramatically. A team with average talent but strong alignment beats a lone genius every decade. Leadership itself is leverage over leverage. But leadership requires emotional maturity. You must manage conflicts without drama, set standards without ego, absorb stress without collapsing. This filters many.
It is easier to stay small than to grow beyond your nervous system. Now let us address a subtle danger. Chasing leverage before mastering fundamentals creates instability. People try to scale chaos. They add speed to confusion. They multiply weak systems. The result is collapse at a larger scale. Leverage does not fix broken structure. It magnifies it. That is why slow foundational years are not wasted. They are loaded. Now another powerful point. Leverage also works negatively. Debt is negative leverage. Addiction is negative leverage. Bad habits are negative leverage. They multiply damage over time. Compounding does not care about morality. It multiplies whatever you feed it. If you feed it discipline, it builds freedom. If you feed it decay, it builds ruin. Now ask yourself this. What is currently being leveraged in your life without your consent? Distraction? Scrolling? Toxic relationships? Comfort? Delay? These are all compounding silently. Leverage always exists. The only question is who controls it. Let us talk about quitting. Many people quit linear jobs dreaming of leverage too early. They abandon guaranteed income without a prepared engine. They call it courage. Often, it is impatience. True leverage is built in parallel before it replaces anything. Use the stability of linear income to build non-linear systems. This removes desperation from the process. Desperation poisons judgment. Here is another micro story. A man writes every morning for 3 years before anyone notices. One article explodes, his entire archive becomes valuable overnight. People call him an overnight success. They did not see the 1,000 silent mornings. Leverage compresses time, but it still charges the full price up front. Now a dangerous mistake. Some people search for leverage that requires no skill, only speculation. They chase trends, tokens, schemes. Sometimes they win fast. Often they lose faster. Even when they win without identity growth. That makes the money unstable. If the identity did not grow with the money cannot stay. Slow, skill-based leverage outperforms fast, blind leverage over every long horizon. Now a direct question for you. What could you build once that would still serve others years later? A book?
A system, a tool, a method, a brand, a portfolio. Your answer defines your future freedom. Another question. Where are you still trading time for money out of habit, not necessity? That is the first area where leverage should enter. Leverage is also about saying no. The more leverage you have, the more selective you must become. Not every opportunity deserves your energy. The wealthy learn to protect leverage from noise. High leverage with low focus creates chaos. High leverage with high focus creates dominance. Let us speak about reputation as leverage. Trust compounds faster than money. A strong reputation reduces friction everywhere. Negotiations become easier. Opportunities arrive earlier. Prices rise naturally. Distribution expands with less force. Reputation is slow to build, fast to destroy. This makes it one of the most fragile yet powerful forms of leverage. Protect it the way you would protect a vault. Now something uncomfortable. Leverage will isolate you from some people. Not because you think you are better, but because your incentives change. Your time becomes valuable. Your patience increases. Your risk tolerance shifts. You move at a different rhythm. Some will call this change cold. It is clarity. Leverage is not about domination. It is about sustainability at higher scales. Finally, understand this. The goal is not to stop working. The goal is to work once and benefit many times, to invest effort where it echoes. When your systems work while you sleep, your mind becomes free to think at a higher level. Strategy replaces survival. Vision replaces reaction. This is when life truly changes. Let me end this chapter with this. If your life only moves forward when you push, you are exposed. If your life moves forward even when you pause, you are becoming dangerous. In the final chapter, we will unite everything: control, time, pain, identity, patience, and leverage into one calm principle that explains why some people always rise quietly while others stay loud and stuck.
Chapter 9. The Quiet Law That Governs All Wealth. Everything you have learned so far points to one invisible law. It does not shout. It does not trend. It does not promise miracles, but it never fails. This law is simple. Your inner order always becomes your outer reality. Money does not respond to desire. It responds to structure. Control without flexibility breaks. Time without direction drifts. Pain without meaning corrodes. Identity without upgrading traps. Patience without action stagnates. Leverage without foundation collapses. Wealth appears only when all six align quietly. Most people isolate these concepts. They work on strategy, but ignore identity. They chase leverage, but skip patience. They tolerate pain, but resist structure. They want results without nervous system stability. The wealthy do something different. They integrate. They do not ask, "What should I do?" They ask, "How should I become?" And then they design their life so that behavior, identity, time, and leverage no longer fight each other. They move in the same direction, slowly, calmly, relentlessly. This alignment is rare. That is why real wealth is rare. Let me show you what misalignment looks like. A man wants freedom, but craves comfort. He wants leverage, but avoids responsibility. He wants success,
but fears visibility. He wants money, but resists discipline. Every part of him pulls against another. He feels busy. He feels tired. Nothing compounds. Now picture alignment. A woman accepts discomfort. She upgrades identity. She respects time. She builds leverage slowly. She trains emotional control. Everything she does points forward. At first, progress looks boring. Later, it looks like magic. It was never magic. It was alignment. Here is the core truth. Your life does not get better when you add more effort. It gets better when you remove internal contradiction. When who you want to be, who you act as, and who you tolerate as yourself become the same person. Wealth is coherence in motion. Now, let us talk about decision-making at this level. When aligned, decisions become simpler. Not easier, simpler. You stop asking, does this make me feel good now? You ask, does this respect my future identity? One question replaces 10 debates. This is how wealthy people avoid burnout. They do not negotiate with their values daily. Their values already decide. Here is what changes when alignment takes over. You stop chasing motivation. You build rhythm. You stop forcing discipline. You build systems. You stop fearing failure. You build feedback loops. You stop needing approval. You build internal standards. You stop reacting emotionally. You build time horizons. Your nervous system becomes calm because it finally understands the plan. Calm is leverage. Now let us confront the final illusion, the illusion that wealth is a destination. It is not. It is a side effect. The destination is becoming a person who naturally produces value at scale over time without self-destruction. Money follows that person the way heat follows fire. Chasing money directly often corrupts character. Building character patiently often attracts money without corruption. This is why shallow wealth feels loud and fragile, and deep wealth feels quiet and inevitable. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable and honest. If your future depended only on your current habits, not your hopes, where would you be in 10 years? That answer is painful and precise. Hope is irrelevant without structure. Now let us bring this into one final integration. Control teaches you resilience. Time teaches you patience. Pain teaches you precision. Identity teaches you limits. Patience teaches you endurance. Leverage teaches you scale. But alignment teaches you direction. Direction makes everything meaningful. Without direction, you optimize noise. With direction, every small action becomes a brick. This is why two people can work equally hard and end up in opposite lives. One stacks in one direction, the other zigzags endlessly. Zigzag effort feels intense. Directional effort becomes unstoppable. Now let us speak about success without peace. It exists. Many reach status without stability, visibility without clarity, money without nervous system strength. Their life looks impressive. Inside, it feels heavy. This book was not built to help you look rich. It was built to help you become someone who cannot stay poor emotionally, psychologically, or financially. Because once this shift happens, money is no longer the master. It becomes a tool. You stop asking, how do I get more? You start asking, what do I build next? Now here's the last trap. Perfection. Many will listen to this book and wait to feel ready. They will want to fix everything inside before acting outside. This creates elegant paralysis. Alignment is not achieved in a meditation cave. It is achieved through movement with awareness. You build alignment while you build your life, not before. Start where you are. Stabilize one habit. Strengthen one identity trait. Extend one time horizon. Remove one contradiction. Do not overhaul your life. Upgrade it the way compounding works. One small improvement repeated until it becomes you. This is how the wealthy move without drama. Now let me give you the final synthesis in one sentence. Real wealth is what happens naturally when your identity, your time horizon, your emotional regulation, and your leverage are no longer at war. When conflict inside ends, progress outside accelerates. You do not need more information, you need internal coherence. The market is not your enemy. The economy is not your enemy. Other people are not your enemy. Your only real enemy was fragmentation. Now, it's gone. And now the final question of this entire journey. If you removed fear, guilt, impatience, and self-doubt from your decisions, what would you commit to fully, starting today? Not planning, not researching, starting. That answer is your real path. Conclusion. You came here thinking this book was about money. It was never about money. Money was only the visible surface of something deeper. It was about control of self, time with meaning, pain with purpose, identity with direction, patience with power, leverage with structure. Put together, they form a quiet engine. This engine does not explode loudly. It hums steadily. It does not need applause. It compounds in silence. You do not need to become ruthless. You do not need to become extreme. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to become aligned. Aligned people do not chase. They attract without begging. They move without panic. They grow without noise. They earn without destroying themselves. This is what real wealth looks like from the inside. From this point forward, your excuses will sound different to you. Your delays will feel more expensive. Your time will feel heavier. Your decisions will feel sharper. This is not pressure. This is clarity. And clarity changes everything. Subscribe to the Millionaire Library, and if you want to go deeper, I left a full playlist waiting for you in the description.